Hello, Tampa Bay fans. You're listening to The William Haynes Show, your online radio home for Tampa Bay sports talk and Rays postgame shows. Stay tuned throughout baseball season for live coverage after most Rays games with comprehensive coverage of all 162 games from April through October. Got something to say? We'd love to hear it. Give us a call, internationally toll-free. 877-566-1020, or send us a tweet at WHBC Official. Don't go anywhere. Tonight's program will be starting in just a couple of minutes.
HBC. The Rays complete the sweep in Baltimore and head to Boston with a 4-game division lead. It is a good evening to you and how you be. William Haynes here, you there at 11:42 on this Monday night. Not quite a Rays post-game edition, but we are live as always from the WHBC studio in Clearwater, Florida. We are still taking calls. We are still talking tweets, all that good stuff. Outside of it being a regular post-game show, everything is normal. 877-566-1020 is the number you can call to talk Rays. At WHBC Official is the Twitter where you can tweet us your thoughts on there. We've done this a couple of times this year, a show on an off day because we missed a couple of games this weekend, a Saturday and Sunday victory for the Rays over the Orioles in Baltimore, and rather triumphant form, scoring 10 runs in Game 1, 12 runs in Game 2, and 9 runs in Game 3. So they continue their pattern of averaging 10 runs a game in Baltimore, and so their dominance has continued on there. The Rays have also won 4 in a row, and as I mentioned at the show opened, they have a 4-game division lead over the Red Sox, which leads us into a 3-game set in Beantown this week, a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday set. So we have that to preview and discuss later on in the show as well. So hoping to keep this a bit of a shorter program, not an hour by any means. If I do get anywhere close to that, definitely someone call in and tell me to stop talking, because make it quick, make it easy, just give you what you need to know and get you up on out of here. So with that being said, we're going to take a break, just get the read out there, all that good stuff, and then when we return, we have the Saturday and Sunday games against the Orioles to talk about, and then to follow the 3-game set in Boston. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Rays postgame on the William Haynes Show. We're live most nights within 15 minutes of the final out to break down everything that happened in that day's game and take listener phone calls to get your thoughts. As always, you call the show at 877-566-1020 or tweet the show at WHBC Official. Like you to remember that archives of previous shows can be found on this show's page on Speaker.com and also on the WHBC YouTube channel. We look forward to having some of you on the show. Thanks for calling in.
WHBC.
And at 11:46 on this Monday night, we are back on the William Haynes Show. Again, number to call is 877-566-1020. You can also tweet us at WHBC Official. But without further ado, the weekend games against the Orioles. We were on Friday night to talk about the 10-6 win. That was Ryan Yarbrough on the mound, allowing 5 runs on 9 hits over 5 innings. And the Rays going in and actually a bit of an early deficit. They were down 5-2 after 5 innings of play. Then Nelson Cruz hit a 3-run homer to tie it, and then a double 2 innings later, again by Nelson Cruz, gave the Rays the lead, and they never looked back from that point. And Nelson Cruz certainly the MVP in that game. Also, Drew Rasmussen threw 53 pitches in 2 1/3, and what we anticipate to be the first step maybe in him being stretched out to start, because I think today was a perfect illustration of why, and we'll get to Sunday's game in a few moments. But Michael Wacha has been severely ineffective really for most of the season, but it seems like really since that road trip where the Rays were in Chicago and lost Tyler Glasnow, where the defense and really the pitching staff has not been the same since then. It seems like Michael Wacha is perhaps the poster boy of the struggles from the pitching standpoint. So they've got guys, Dietrich Enns, the guy that they just brought up and actually made his Rays debut yesterday. He started most of his games at Durham this year, but they're using him out of the bullpen at the moment. Obviously, they've got some other arms, Shane Baz, etc., Brendan McKay rehabbing, so they may have options down the line, but right now they're stuck with kind of their 5 of Yarbrough, McClanahan, Wacha, Patino, and Fleming, and it'll be the bottom of the rotation and back to the top next week, or rather starting tomorrow in Boston. It'll be Patino, Fleming, and Yarbrough. Not the guys that you want to see against Boston, but you would really say that right now about any starter other than Shane McClanahan. So we talked about the importance of Drew Rasmussen maybe being pushed into that role. I believe he came through the minor leagues with the Milwaukee Brewers as a starting pitching prospect. So even though he's been out of the bullpen for the Rays, that may not be his most natural spot. So that's just something to keep an eye on. Certainly. So the Saturday night game that we missed, it was a 12-3 victory for the Rays. Certainly dominant fashion there. It was a Saturday night. I know I wasn't watching the game live, but I know most of you were. It was listed as a 7:05 start, but they had the pregame ceremonies that pushed the start of the game all the way until after 7:30. So I hope not too many of you guys were sitting around waiting for the game to start watching, the pregame coverage. But it was Shane McClanahan on the mound, and sort of a homecoming for him. He's talked about this season that he grew up in the Baltimore area and grew up going to Baltimore games as an Orioles fan. He spent much time of his youth in Camden Yards, even though he was a USF grad. I guess some of us associate him with being kind of a Tampa Bay area guy, but instead he really did come through in the Baltimore area. So he has started against the Orioles prior to Saturday this season, but that was in Tropicana Field. So his first career start in Baltimore, and he had to be amped about that. I'm sure he had all kinds of family and things coming in to watch him play, and a career best in innings pitched with 7. I also believe a career high in strikeouts with 8, and only threw 92 pitches in the process. You take out a 30-pitch third inning in which he gave up all 3 of his earned runs. He had 6 innings pitched of just about over 60 pitches. So if he could have avoided maybe a bit of a blow up there in the third, we could have been talking about a Shane McClanahan complete game. But even still, you take 7 innings of 3 runs on 5 hits, 1 walk, and 8 strikeouts. That would certainly be Shane McClanahan's best start of his entire career. It moves him to 6-4 on the season. Hard to believe he's already had 10 decisions this year because he did not even start the season with the big league club, and then just a couple of innings of mop-up duty again because it was a 12-3 final from Dietrich Enns, who we talked about making his Rays debut, and he did put up a shutout. Thought he was a bit interesting. One of 2 real kind of one-inning relievers from the left side. Of course, you have Ryan Sheriff, who started with the big league club to open the season, and then you have Dietrich Enns, a guy who throws 95-ish, kind of sinking fastballs low in the zone. He's got kind of a sidearm from that left side again, so kind of a tricky to kind of see his pitches, and then he's got kind of a slider type action off of that, about I want to say about high 80s. So was fine. He did allow a hit, but struck out one in the process, 12 pitches, 8 strikes, and so he puts up a 0 in his first appearance as a Tampa Bay Ray. And to close the game, it was Colin McHugh, coming off the injured list for the second time this season. And the fastball velocity did not appear really to be there. I mean, he has not really thrown much harder than 92, 93, but I was seeing more the fastball of the 88, 89 variety. So he did have, I think, what was it, shoulder fatigue, something along those lines, arm fatigue. So that would make sense that the velocity would not be there right out of the gate. But the slider, I thought, was maybe as good as it's looked maybe all year. Just a real frisbee type action that's got wicked movement, especially in a post Spider Tack era. We should not be seeing pitches with that much filth, but Colin McHugh did come back strong, at least in that variety. He's got his ERA down to 1.5 this season, and since coming off the injured list for the first time this year, which was in mid-April, I believe, he's pitching to an ERA under a half, so has really, really been good. That first IL stint was for back stiffness. This one was for shoulder fatigue, so a guy that did not pitch in the 2020 season. There may be some lingering effects of that, getting immediately thrusted back into a full 162-game season. Hard enough for the guys that only played 60 games, but I imagine even harder for a guy that didn't pitch any games. But Colin McHugh, you would argue, maybe alongside Andrew Kittredge, has been the best reliever that the Rays have had at their disposal, and I think a good sign that he's healthy and ready to go. To bring Colin McHugh back, they did send Lewis Head back to Durham, and with DJ Johnson's injury yesterday, I gotta believe that Lewis Head is getting close to the most times transacted by a Ray, as a Ray in a single season. I mean, he has been brought up back and forth from Durham, it seems like, at least a dozen times, and we're still in early August, so there's still a lot of baseball left to be played in the regular season for him to come back up and down. Apparently, there's a 10-day, cool down period. Once you get sent down, you can't come back up to the big league club for 10 days. The only caveat to that is if it is for an injury. So some have maybe believed that Lewis Head will be brought up in a move tomorrow, sending DJ Johnson, who will certainly be headed to the injured list. But there are some whispers that Randy Arozarena will be ready to come off the COVID IL in that time. So maybe they're down a pitcher, but if you're going to bring Randy back, I thought it always made sense that Jordan Luplow was going to go down whenever Randy was ready to come back, so they could make a couple of moves. I'm not exactly sure. Some of that might depend on Jordan Luplow's options. I think he's 29 years old, but I've got to imagine he's still got some left on his contract there, so we will know more about that, obviously, after the game tomorrow night, but that's where we were off on our Colin McHugh conversation. And then, of course, bearing the lead. Anytime you score 12 runs, you're doing a lot of things right, and if not a season high, it's got to be awfully close to a season high. 8 extra base hits, 4 doubles, and 4 home runs. Nelson Cruz adding his 15th double, his 23rd home run of the year, and if his heroics on Friday night weren't enough, he comes out and does it again. The Rays did actually take an early deficit. They were initially up 2-0 after 2, and then in a 3-run inning in the third that we talked about that McClanahan allowed, including a 400-foot home run by Cedric Mullins, who was on like a 16-game hitting streak, and he's been terrific. He was an all-star for the Orioles as well. The Orioles were up 3-2 after 3. Nelson Cruz hit a home run to make it 4-3 Rays in the 5th. So game-winning hits and extra base hits, in fact, in back-to-back games. So all the talk about Nelson Cruz, maybe not working out for the Rays, or it was going to be a bad trade, they shouldn't have given up Joe Ryan, blah, blah, blah. Nelson Cruz is showing us all the Rays fans, the guy that he's been, not just this season with the Twins as a 41-year-old DH, but really that he's been his entire career. I think for his career, he's hitting over 350 against the Baltimore Orioles. So outside of that time he spent within the friendly confines of Camden Yards as an Oriole in 2014, he has spent the rest of his career absolutely terrorizing them. And it was no different on Saturday. There was also a grand slam for Brandon Lau in the 8th that made it 9-3 Rays. That obviously extended from 5-3 to 9-3, so that was able to put the game away in the late stages. His second grand slam of the year, and the Rays have 6 grand slams this season. The year of the salami. I can't remember the last time the Rays had this many slams in a single season, unless I'm missing something. But I know Lau has 2. I know Phillips has 2. Rosarena has 1. Wendell has 1. And Mejia has 1. And so if my math is correct, that would add up to 6. And interesting that they all come in bunches, because I remember Mejia and Wendell both hit those grand slams in the same series in Dunedin. And the Rays have hit now 2 grand slams in this series as well, with Lau on Saturday and Phillips with the go-ahead grand slam yesterday. So really a testament to the way the offense has been playing all season. They get really, really hot for long stretches. When they're not doing so good, it is excruciating to watch, especially if the pitching and defense is not at the elite level. But really, for most of the second half, and really it seems like ever since Glasnow went down, while the pitching and defense has been in a decline, the offense has been red hot, and we have a long list of offensive stats actually to talk about in a few moments as well. But for the 12-3 win, both sides of the ball really as good as you could ask. The Rays did have an error defensively, but really for Tampa Bay, what else is new? It just seems like they may not be able to get it cleaned up by season's end. I don't know exactly really what the problem is. It's just plays they were making earlier this season they are not making now. Part of that, maybe you would say Adames not being there. G-Man Choi coming in and out. Yandy Diaz moving around a lot. So hard to really put your finger on it, but that defense that was leading the majors in defensive runs saved and was really taking hits away routinely, that just hasn't been there. And then the pitching outside of McClanahan has not been very good from the starting standpoint. But when you do have Sugar Shane on the bump, you feel pretty good about your chances on that day. And I think that's really a testament to what he's been able to do in his rookie campaign. And really, we talked about it after Glasnow went down and what ultimately ended up being an injury that required Tommy John surgery. Someone was going to have to step up. Everyone really was, but someone was going to have to fill the shoes of Glasnow that could take the ball every 5th day and go legitimately 6 or 7 innings and not give up a ton of runs that you can lean on having a good start every once in a while. And I really believe McClanahan has been that. I thought Ryan Yarbrough was the other candidate. He's been hot and cold, I guess, to say the least. But McClanahan, as I said, he's still a rookie, but he is really seizing the moment. And a career start in the park where he grew up watching baseball games, I think that's pretty cool. And got the run support and how with the 12 runs there on Saturday. And on the Sunday contest, it was a 9-6 win, so the closest game of the weekend, and another comeback win. It was the Rays' 35th comeback win this season, which obviously leads the majors, and they have been terrific in the late stages of games. I know the stat that's been floated around a bunch lately. The Rays have, for the season, 215 runs in the 7th inning or later, which is almost 40% of their 570 runs that they've scored, throughout the season. So almost 40% of their runs has come in the final third of the game. And they are plus 86 in the run differential column in the 7th inning or later, which is also first in the majors. So not only are they first in comeback wins, but it really makes sense. Anytime you're scoring a ton in the late stages of games, you're going to be able to come back if you do happen to be trailing. And really all weekend, that's been the case in Baltimore. The Orioles blew all 3 games this weekend, and really a testament to the offense getting it done in, let's be honest, a place that they should be getting it done. There is no excuses to not be scoring these kind of runs off of Orioles pitching, but it is just still, even saying that, refreshing to see this offense come through routinely day in and day out, which we had not seen really at all in the early stage of this season. Really for the, you would say the first 2.5 months of the season. So I can't say enough about that. It was Michael Wacha on the mound, and really for him, what else is new? 5 runs on 10 hits over 5 innings of work, walked 1, and struck out just 2 over 5 innings. And I don't mean to be sarcastic when I say what else is new. I mean, I really do mean it. It seems like every start for Michael Wacha is the same. He's throwing 92-mile-an-hour fastballs that catch way too much of the plate, and they're just getting dinked and dunked for singles. I mean, with the 10 hits, a walk, and a hit batter, he gave up 12 base runners over 5 innings. So for every out he's recording, he's almost allowing 1 base runner per out, which is absolutely insane. And I know as a whole, he's got an ERA of 5.49. As a starter, it's about a whole run lower than that at about 4.5. He has not been very good in relief at all. So I guess if you wanted to, you can kind of scratch that from your mind, because he really should not be doing anything other than starting if he's going to be pitching in a Rays uniform at all. But even that, a 4.5 ERA is still, you would say, below average. Since he got re-added to the starting rotation, I know we all remember that start in Seattle where he gave up 5 runs on 11 hits over 3 2/3. Has really not done anything well since then. I mean, he had a 5-inning shutout against the Red Sox at home, and like I said, that was June 24th. We really haven't seen a great start from him since then. You'd say maybe 6 innings of a run allowed against the Cleveland Indians in one of those doubleheader games. So he's got basically 2 good starts since he was added to the rotation in June 18th. But you look at his last couple starts. I mean, the start before yesterday against the Mariners, 6 runs on 8 hits over 4 innings. So been very ineffective. Any way you want to slice it, like I said, I don't even know if it's an execution problem for him, because I know he's one of the greatest percentage strike throwers in baseball, but they're not on the borders, they're not on the corners. I know, well, he did, or I was looking at the wrong page. Yeah, he didn't have Mike Zunino catching for him. It was Francisco Mejia, and it seems like all the pitchers, Shane McClanahan especially, but the rest of the staff as well, seem to do better with Z behind the plate than Mejia, but that's not going to fix the catcher behind home plate is not going to fix, I don't think, what Michael Wacha's got going right now. He's a couple of decent starts that he's had. Also on July 28th, a 5-inning shutout against the Yankees that I did forget about, that I'm seeing now. But I think in both of those starts, what was really driving that was velocity. I mean, I recall that June 24th start against Boston where he came out of the gate throwing 96 and he could reach back for 97 on the fastball. And today, I don't think we saw a pitch above 93. There would be an occasional 94, but that would be it. And when it's not getting a ton of movement and it's not being placed well, it doesn't matter who you're facing. It could be the Baltimore Orioles, it could be the Indians. Pick your worst lineup, in the American League that he'd face. They're still going to hit him around, and they did. As I said, 10 hits over 5 innings of work. 97 pitches, 62 for strikes. So again, the strikes is not a problem. Was also 14 of 25 in establishing the first pitch strike. Another problem you'd look at is he allowed a leadoff base runner in 4 out of the 5 innings that he worked, albeit 2 of those were home runs, including the first pitch of the game for him was a home run. He got taken out by Cedric Mullins, who, has been great, not just against the Rays, but really against everybody. But it was terrific this series, you'd say. So that was a problem. Starting innings off with a guy at first base. The Orioles were also running all over Michael Wacha. Typically, I can't recall too many games this season where you can noticeably tell that a team is trying to run on a guy. But you could tell against Wacha today they were. Mejia has got a terrific arm, and he showed that off. They were able to get 1 caught stealing out of it. And I know for Mejia, when he was coming through the Cleveland system, he was regarded as the best catching prospect in baseball, and he's got one of the best arms I've seen in my years of watching baseball. But he's not great at blocking pitches in the dirt. Obviously, he's not got a huge frame, so he does not have that to his advantage. Is mobile as a smaller guy, but as the Rays have been doing things the last couple seasons, having the catchers on a knee obviously limit some of that. I know Dave Wills on the broadcast has talked about that extensively, and I think that holds a lot of weight. So he does have the good arm, but you got to get the ball in the glove first, and that's obviously something Mejia has struggled with. Has not been able to get consistent playing time because someone's put this in the Rays Reddit page on a comment, and it really stuck out to me. It was Mejia has done well when getting consistent playing time, especially at the plate, but it seems like every time Mike Zunino hits a home run, Mejia has to sit for a week because Cash obviously wanting to ride the wave with Big Z. So I don't know. Like I said, consistent playing time could have something to do with it, but Waka and Mejia, not a battery I feel good about in the slightest, even against an Orioles team right now that sits at 38-72 and could potentially finish with the worst record in Major League Baseball. Even they terrorized Michael Waka on this day. But obviously with the Rays winning, that was not the entire story. They do take a 3-0 lead after 2 innings of play, and they do have a 5-2 lead after 4. Brett Phillips hit one of 2 home runs in the 7th to cut the O's lead to 2, and then the Rays loaded up the bases. It was Wander Franco with a bases loaded walk to make it 5-4 O's, and then finally Brett Phillips hitting a grand slam in a tie game in the 8th to take a 9-5 lead. So Brett Phillips, obviously the hero, and was taking advantage of a bit of a short porch, or really just the entire left field side of the outfield is pretty short. So even with the left-handed hitter, if you can go opposite fields, as Phillips did not once but twice, both to left center and both about the same distance, 393 and 390 on the grand slam. So you would say probably a career day for him, or at least as a Ray, maybe obviously not including Game 4 of the 2020 World Series, unless I can't imagine how he'd do anything to top that, but for now that's his career highlight, you'd say. But hitting a game-winning grand slam today was pretty cool. His second salami of the season, 9 runs, so that a great offensive output coming up again. Meadows with a home run and a double as well, so he had a nice game there yesterday. And Mejia legging out his 3rd triple of the year, so did have a little bit of struggles behind home plate, but was adding some production offensively. Nelson Cruz had a bit of an off day after really carrying the offense on Friday and Saturday, going 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. But those things are all going to average out. I mean, he's hitting still .281 on the season, and that's the greatest average on the team behind Wendell, who after a nice series of just getting ground balls through the holes, his average up to 280. So a great weekend for the team. You can't expect, even against a team like the Orioles, that the Rays are going to win every single game, but they are now 11-1 against Baltimore this season. The only loss that they have, it was at home. That was that weird game where Spencer Watkins hit through 6 innings, shutout, allowing just 4 hits. And something I meant to say when we were talking about the Saturday win, as I said, Spencer Watkins allowed 4 hits over 6 innings his first time against the Rays. The Rays matched that 4-hit total before an out was recorded in the 2nd inning. So I know it's the Orioles, and I know it's Spencer Watkins, who was, just kind of a waiver claim and a guy that didn't even know if he was going to play baseball last year. But anytime you struggle against a guy like that the first time, you come back and play him again, and it's a completely different story. You flip the script and you absolutely dominate. That's a good sign, because when else you're going to have to come around and face a starter again in the postseason. That was outside of, of course, the long line we could go down of the Astros cheating in that series and etc. Really, maybe what you would point to as well in that 2019 ALDS was Garrett Cole dominated them twice in a 5-game series. I think he went, probably went 8 innings shut out both times. At least it felt that way. So even if you struggle against a guy once, you can always come back and get him the next time. So they've done a much better job of that. I know they got to Garrett Cole a kind of twice in the ALDS last year. So it seems like it's becoming part of this team's DNA where they're able to do that. But anytime you can see that and see it reinforced, I think is a good thing. And Spencer Watkins, really one of the pitchers they have struggled against the most this year. I mean, that game against him the first time was pretty bad, and it was hard to watch. So they were able to really dominate, and I think all 4 of those hits were over 110 exit velocity. So not only was it contact, but very strong contact, which is always a good sign. And really, that's how this offense has been playing, loud contact. It seems like every single day. Out of the bullpen as well, I did not mention DJ Johnson got a couple of outs, and then he said his shoulder felt like it cracked on a pitch. It was a curveball that he just kind of yanked, and no diagnosis yet, but certainly he's going to go on the injured list. And if he did actually hear or feel a crack, and that's a broken bone in your shoulder, he would be out at least the rest of the season, if not into next year. I don't even know how you would go about trying to rehab that as a pitcher. But I think, to say the least, DJ Johnson is going to be missing some time, so I would expect Lewis Head to fill his shoes. But it looks like with Randy Arozarena's status up in the air, they're going to wait and see kind of on that tomorrow before they have to play a game in Boston. JT Chagua came in with an inning and a third after Johnson, and pitched pretty well. I think he's looked the best that we've seen him as a Ray, albeit, this was only his 4th appearance, but the fastball that we saw initially at 94, 95 was now 96, 97, touched 98 a couple of times, and I think because he was traded for Castillo, we'll always kind of compare them in that light, but was reminding me of some vintage, 2018 Diego Castillo, those 98-mile-an-hour sinkers that are just running into the right-handers. That was pretty cool to watch, and so if that's who Chagua is going to be, I think he could be potentially a nice setup man, maybe for Nick Anderson, perhaps, in a couple of weeks or a month's time. So that's something to look forward to, and he's been good so far as a Ray. Got an ERA right above 2.5, so it's been effective. Whistler with a scoreless inning, and he's been good really mostly since coming over. I know he did blow a game against the Angels, but outside of that has been pretty good. And then Ryan Sheriff closing things out in the ninth, did allow a run, and a double in the process, hit by pitch, and he's not been perfect by any means. An ERA on the wrong side of 5, but was able to seal the deal. But back to what we were saying before, the Rays 11-1 against the Orioles this season, and with playing 19 games against every single division opponent, by my count, the Rays have 7 games left this season against the O's, and those are all going to come in August. So, and we talked about this before the year, kind of a weird scheduling quirk. August was going to be a month where the Rays could legitimately stack some wins. I know we pointed out back then the Seattle series. Little did I know the Mariners were going to have the Rays number and how this year. But out of the 27 games in the month of August, 10 of them are against the Orioles. So over a third of your games in the month of August are against this lowly Baltimore team. And I predicted it was going to be against the Yankees and not the Red Sox, but that you were going to be in this kind of division race this late in the season. You're going to need to stack wins somewhere, and never could imagine they'd be this good against Baltimore. It seems like they always have a trip up, especially in Camden Yards, but have been lights out. 6-0 in Baltimore this year and averaging 10 runs a game in that ballpark. They will have a 4-game set at the Trop August 17th through the 19th, and then at the really to close out the month of August, the 27th through the 29th, they will be in Baltimore to finish the season series. And I mean, who knows? I don't think they'll go 18-1, but out of the rest of the 7 games, if you win 5 of those, and that would put you at 16-3 for the season, that would be terrific. I couldn't really ask for much more than that. So with this team already having 68 wins, they are a season high water mark. What is it now? 24 games above 500. They could really run away with this thing. And obviously a big part of that is what they're going to be able to do starting tomorrow in Beantown. So that's it for really the weekend series. As I said, offense was terrific. Couldn't ask for much more than that. And I guess with that being said, just segueing into the offense, because that really has been the talk of the town as of late, especially with as the pitching and defense has struggled. This team has still won, and won maybe more consistently than they did before when the pitching was much better than it is now. And thanks in part to that, the team scoring runs, and a lot of them seemingly every day. The stat, as we said, going around right now, 215 runs in the 7th inning or later, which leads Major League Baseball. That's also good for an plus 86 run differential, which also leads the majors. And out of the 570 runs that they've scored, that 215 in the 7th or later is almost 40% of that total. But 570 runs total scored this season, which is about 5 per game, is good for 4th in the majors. 35 come from behind wins in there as well. Their 147 homers are 4th in the American League, 8th overall in the majors. Looking at what else they've got in Campton Yards specifically this season, at Baltimore, they've scored 60 runs in 6 games, so that's obviously 10 runs a game. In those 6 games, 17 home runs. I really can't even believe that that's possible in Baltimore. They have been absolutely obliterating and punishing the baseball. And this weekend, they have scored 31 runs, 18 extra base hits in 3 games, 9 doubles and 8 home runs. So that's averaging 3 doubles and 3 home runs pretty much every game in a route of about 10 runs. Something we've talked a lot about, the Rays have worked 417 walks, which is good for 2nd in the American League, 6th in the majors, and their 317 on base percentage is 6th in the AL and 14th in the majors. So kind of middle of the pack as far as on base percentage, but they have been working a ton of walks. So I'm not sure. I mean, what is the hit by pitches really that much making that much of a difference? That is kind of surprising. But then you look on the downside, and really where it is amazing that this offense has scored so many runs. The Rays as a team are batting .235 this year, which is 11th in the American League, which is bottom 5, and 22nd in the MLB, which is bottom 10 in the majors. So not very good in that category in the slightest. Excuse me. They also lead the majors with 1,116 strikeouts, which is almost 10 a game, and we joke about it each and every night that it's basically a formality that they strike out 10 times. I mean, it wasn't so long ago in Major League Baseball where you would consistently get more hits than strikeouts, and that would obviously entail games where you're only striking out 5 or so times. We almost never see that. I mean, on a day like Sunday when the Rays score 9 runs, they strike out 7 times. So even when they're doing well, they're still striking out a bunch. And I guess you could say with the 4th most home runs in the American League, the 2nd most walks in the American League, and the most strikeouts in not just the American League but in baseball, you would say, and as sad as I am to say this, the Rays are the most three true outcomes as far as a team. The 3 true outcomes, of course, being the walk, the strikeout, and the home run. And that's been used kind of with negative connotation, basically baseball being kind of boiled down to a more simpler form, and how teams have gone about trying to score more runs. Obviously, looking at this was obviously by design. This team was constructed this way for a reason. This is how they believe they're going to score the most runs and win the most games. I know you've seen Moneyball and all that stuff. This is nothing new. That's been going on in this sport for over 20 years. So it's working right now. Obviously, you're not going to be able to score 10 runs every day. Not only that, but you're not going to be playing all your games against the Orioles, as sad as I am to say that. So offense will come and go. Pitching and defense really plays anywhere, and I think that's what's made the Rays so great the last 2 seasons in 19 and 20. It concerns me that it hasn't been there, in part because of injuries, in part because of free agent losses. etc. They're going to be getting some guys back. The rotation does scare me, but I mean the bullpen is going to be getting loaded up here headed down the stretch. So that's how they knew with the Rays. The bullpen having to carry in the pitching staff and the defense. I guess to put it in a positive light, they will have room for improvement. What's also made the Rays so great, while they have been good at the Trop, they're also one of the best, well, you would say they are the best road team in baseball. Their 32-22 record on the road is first in the majors. Their 4 sweeps rank second in the big leagues. Their 5.5 runs per game on the road rank second. And their 78 homers on the road rank second. So all across the board, they have been a terrific road team. And I know there's been a lot of talk about the Rays struggling at home. With the new lights that have been installed. Willie Adames, of course, admitting that he can't see the baseball in the Trop, and he's been statistically a completely different player since heading over to Milwaukee. So you're going to probably have struggles in that building. That's probably a given. And that they've been so good on the road that's going to play really no matter where you're at. If we're talking postseason, or beyond, whatever. So that's a good sign. And other housekeeping notes before we head over to the break, and on the other side talk about the Boston series starting tomorrow night. Also, just one last note. I know I'm all over the place on the offense. The Rays are one of 5 teams to have at least 3 players with 20 home runs. And they've got Lau, Meadows, and Zunino. And we talked about all that stuff already. Also, some guys that are still coming back from injury. Nick Anderson, who we talked about, was poised for his not a rehab start, but a rehab appearance at AAA Durham. It was sidelined for a COVID-related reason. He was supposed to throw in the Florida, Coast League or whatever it's called in Port Charlotte. It got rained out. The man can't catch a break. He threw a bullpen session at the Trop on Saturday, and Cash said he looked good. He will return to game action Monday with the Florida Complex League team. And so maybe after some time there, I would imagine would probably go back to Durham. Because you're going to want to see pretty legit hitters before you are thrust back into the big leagues, especially for Anderson, a guy that really is the closer. With a team having a 4-game lead in first place, you're not in dire need to bring him back, so make sure he's all good. Chris Archer, who's been out since April with that forearm issue, he was set for a 5-inning, 75-pitch rehab start with the Durham Bulls. It was a setback with left hip soreness. He'll throw a bullpen session, or he did throw a bullpen session today with the potential to resume his rehab assignment with AAA Durham Wednesday or Thursday. And Brendan McKay, the two-way youngster who last pitched in 2019 with the Rays, working back from August 2020 shoulder surgery, said he felt good coming out of his Friday start for AA Montgomery. I know his first start, I think he walked 5 over like 2 1/3. So it looks like he may have a ways to go still on his rehab. I can't imagine we'd see him this season, but things get weird late September. You never know. And also relievers J.P. Fireeisen and Ryan Thompson, both with shoulder soreness. They both felt good after throwing bullpens, Kevin Cash said. So you'd think they're maybe, a week, 2 weeks away. It's a bit of a gray area in that regard, but hard to say. And also of note, the Rays had a franchise single-day record, 16 players on the injured list on Friday before Colin McHugh was reinstated. That was from Tompkin in the Times, and he's always got great stuff in there. I think that's it. I think we covered everything. So with that being said, we're going to take a short break. When we return, we have a 3-game series in Boston to preview against the Red Sox with a chance for the Rays, I guess at best, to take a 7-game division lead on them. I guess at that point the Yankees would probably overtake them for second. But either way, some good stuff still to come. Got anyone listening you'd like to call in, talk Rays, 877-566-1020. We'll be right back.
Hey Rays fans, William will be right back. We're in a commercial break, so don't touch that dial. Remember, you can call us internationally toll-free at 877-566-1020 or tweet us your thoughts at WHBC Official. Also, we'd like you to stay tuned for Williams' other podcasting projects at speaker.com/user/WHBC.
HBC. And at 12:27, we are back on the William Haynes Show, wrapping up today's show with a preview of this week's series in Boston against the Red Sox. And now, as we begin our conversation of the Red Sox, they have not been very good as of late. They opened the All-Star break at 20 games above 500 at 56-36. And after a poor stretch as of late, they sit now just 16 games above 500 at 65-49. They are now 4 games back of first place. That's obviously the Rays. And you look at them lately, the whole stretch that they've been on, they are 3-10 in their last 13 games, and they are 2-8 in their last 10, which is also the 10-game road trip that they've been on. That included that 3-game sweep at the Trop. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Tigers in Detroit, and they lost 3 out of 4 in a weekend series in Toronto against the Blue Jays. And something I've been meaning to talk about this weekend and now just getting around to, the Blue Jays, the last team you want to face if you're the Red Sox, and they just got done with them. Not only are the Blue Jays red hot, they're also back in Toronto. So it's one of those sports stories where it's bigger than numbers on a spreadsheet, matchups, etc. Who's the starting pitcher? These guys are playing with emotion. They have not been in Toronto since 2019. In fact, the last time the Blue Jays had been in the Rogers Center, the Rays had clinched one of the American League wild cards in 2019 at the end there. Hard to believe that Big League Baseball has not been played there since then, up until about a week ago. Some big-name Blue Jays players hadn't even been played in Toronto yet, so the team playing on fire. The point I'm trying to make is, if you're the Red Sox who are stumbling already, that's the last team you wanted to face, and the Blue Jays were absolutely feeling it this weekend. They trounced the Red Sox 12-4 on Friday. They split a doubleheader on Saturday, and then a 9-8 win yesterday. An absolute crushing defeat for the Red Sox, because it looked like they were finally starting to come out of that slump. The Red Sox were up 7-2 after 4 and end up losing 9-8. So kind of a heartbreaker there. You would say maybe that just because they lost, the Red Sox still came out of it scoring 8 runs because the offense had been really bad. I don't know. We're going to find that out tomorrow. I don't exactly love the matchups. 2 soft tossing lefties and a guy in Luis Patino who has never seen the Red Sox before. So we just do not know. It's a mixed bag. That may be for the best, though, because it seems like every other pitcher we've got that has history against the Red Sox this year is not good history, to say the least. But another point about that Blue Jays series, 4 games in 3 days, with the Blue Jays scoring runs like crazy. They are going through pitchers I know Matt Barnes, their closer, got the loss on Sunday. I mean, they have just been eaten up. Like I said, Barnes also got the loss in one of the doubleheader games on Saturday. So even their closer is kind of out of it right now. So I think the offense for the Red Sox is going to make all the difference because I don't think their pitching is going to play that well. The history between these two teams this year, they have not played in Fenway since early April when it was terribly cold and the Rays offense was terrible that entire month. The other games have been in Tropicana Field, and it was the Rays taking 2 out of 3 in late June in that series where Wander Franco made his major league debut. And after that, it was, of course, that 3-game sweep. What was it? A couple of weeks ago. And what was the time of my life? I was at all 3 of those games, and they were all stellar. Really, really cool games to watch. The best, probably, regular season games I've seen as a Rays fan. That might be hyperbole, but it was pretty cool. The Rays are 5-4 against the Red Sox this season. So, like I said, if it's a sweep, the Rays will go up 7 games on Boston. I can't see that happening in Fenway. There's going to be 40,000 probably screaming fans there. So, I mean, realistically, you'd like the Rays to take 2 out of 3. I would not be surprised if the Rays stumble here just because it seems like it would be way too easy because of how good the Red Sox have been most of the season for the Rays to just kind of run away with it here. I know the Yankees are catching fire, so maybe they're just going to replace the Red Sox as the team that the Rays are battling for first place, and thank goodness the Rays only have 3 games left against the Yanks. That's October 1st through the 3rd. They've got 10 games left against Boston. So you got to win the games against them to put the difference, and so they're going to have the chance to do that. Also in that 4-game set in Toronto this weekend, the Red Sox starters pitched to an ERA on the wrong side of 7, and they had a bullpen ERA over 5. So, I mean, a 4-game sample size, including 2 7-inning doubleheader games, albeit they pitched well in both of those. But the other 2 games, they gave up 12 runs on Friday, 9 runs yesterday. So, struggling. Even some of their better starters like Nathan Eovaldi struggled against, and I know the Rays had a pretty good game against him a couple of weeks ago, and I think the Rays are going to miss him next week. So the matchups now, tomorrow night, it'll be Eduardo Rodriguez against Luis Patino. Wednesday night, it'll be Nathan Eovaldi against Ryan Yarbrough, so we will not miss Eovaldi. And then Thursday, kind of late afternoon, a 4:10 start, it'll be Nate Pivetta against Josh Fleming. So now what we're going to do, just go game by game and just talk about all the matchups and things like that. We'll go into a bit greater detail, obviously, on the first game because, we try and preview the next day's game on every show. So right now, tomorrow night, it is Rays and Red Sox. The Rays coming in at 68 and 44. They are 24 games, a season high watermark, over 500. Their 33 and 22 record on the road is the best in the majors. And as we also said, they have not played in Boston since that early April series where they were swept by the Red Sox. It'll be for the Rays, the right-hander, Luis Patino. And for the Red Sox, it'll be the southpaw, as we said, Eduardo Rodriguez. So starting on the Rays side of things for the pitching, Luis Patino, the 21-year-old right-hander, is 2-3 on the season with a .442 earned run average. Just looking at that, you would say it's rather pedestrian, but has been up and down, to say the least. His last time out, August 3rd at home against the Mariners, gave up 3 runs on 5 hits over 5 innings of play, gave up a couple of home runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. I came away from that start feeling pretty good about Patino. I mean, velocity was there, 97, or so, 98. Has got the slider and the changeup off of that as well. And I thought executed most of his pitches. With the 2 home runs allowed, it seems like a poor placed fastball is what's been haunting him, kind of reminiscent of an early like 2018 Tyler Glasnow type, where he's got really good stuff, but maybe he's just not got complete control of it. And again, he's 21 years old, so still kind of figuring this out on the fly. It's really his first season with the reins as a starter, and he really hasn't gone deep into games since, you would say, mid-May, so it doesn't even have a ton of experience of doing that. Has yet to see the Red Sox, not just this season, but his entire career. Other AL East foes, he's been pretty good against the Yankees this year. 4 innings of a run on May 11th, and 6 innings shutout on July 29th, where the Rays spanked the Yanks 14-0. And then where he's fallen a little bit short, you'd say maybe the Blue Jays, July 2nd, gave up 7 runs on 7 hits over 5 1/3, and that, like that last time out against the Mariners, just some poor placed pitches and going up against a good lineup that's going to make you pay. The reason I talk so much about how the Red Sox have been lately, their offense has been in a slump, and it was, last week. Was it last week? It was. It's hard to believe that Boston series was only a week ago. But the offense was in a slump then, and they really haven't come out of it. So that 8-run output yesterday, that might be the difference. And, of course, returning to the friendly confines of Fenway Park can always give you a bit of a boost as well. But that would be the best thing for Patino, is to play a lineup at least that's slumping, because those names are going to be there, whether it's Kike Hernandez, J.D. Martinez, Rafael Devers, Xander Bogaerts, Christian Vazquez. I know Kevin Plawecki is red hot right now. Bobby Dahlbeck was crushing the Rays last time out. So a really good lineup for Boston. And another thing is they're probably only about 5 or 6 deep of legitimate threats. It's not like the Blue Jays, like they're a 1 through 9, you can't get past them, or like the Yankees have been at times this year. Not now, you would say, with all the injuries they have, but it's a lineup, especially right now, if they're still cold, that you can easily navigate. He's been caught mostly by Francisco Mejia in a raucous crowd and everything. I would like to see them go with Zunino, but I don't think I can't name maybe once or twice out of his 9 starts this year that Patino has had Zunino. So Patino and Mejia, teammates last year in San Diego. It's clear they've got a good bond. So you just got a good game plan going into it, and we'll just have to see again. Out of all the pitchers, Patino having the least experience against Boston, which is 0. It really is a mixed bag. I think the hope is you get him through 5, go from there. I don't even really think if he's pitching well, you push it much past that. I mean, anything more than 6 innings would completely surprise me. So let's say he goes 5 innings. The bullpen is pretty rested up. I would say the only guys maybe no-go would be Drew Rasmussen, who threw 53 pitches on Saturday, and I think they may try and just have him every 5th day, as I said, trying to get him stretched out to start. And Colin McHugh, they may want to give another day off, but if he is desperately needed, they could go to him. But you're going to have everyone. You're going to have Kittredge, Whistler, Sheriff, JT Chagua, Dietrich Enns, Lewis Head, I imagine, will be brought back, and DJ Johnson obviously going on the injured list, so you're not going to have him at your disposal, but Lewis Head basically would be replacing him. So the bullpen is fresh, especially with the off day. That weekend series in Baltimore was bookended by off days, so the pitching should be fresh. Thankfully, I know they were needing some off days, so they got a couple of them there, and in a short stretch, they're not going to have another off day until the 23rd, so they're not getting one at all next week. So get off to a good start. Don't get behind, because once the pitching gets thin, it's hard to get that turned around without an off day. And then on the other side of things, it is Eduardo Rodriguez going for the Red Sox. The 28-year-old left-hander is 8-6 on the year with a .533 earned run average. His last time out, a pretty good start. 5 innings shutout against the Tigers, just 2 hits allowed. Did walk 4, 10 strikeouts, so that's why with 99 pitches he didn't get past the 5th, even with the 2-hit shutout intact. The 4 walks really is what did him in, and control had been an issue. The start before that, he had also walked 4. total in just over 100 innings, he's walked 32. So not great. Walk total is a little high, and it's been pretty bad lately. So I don't know if there's a particular issue he's got plaguing him. He has seen the Rays just once this year. It came on June 22nd. That was Wander Franco's debut. He gave up 5 total runs on 7 hits over 6 innings, just 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, 90 pitches thrown. I know that 3-run homer by Wander Franco was a part of that, so Wander seeing him for the first time since then, that will be pretty cool. And with the left-hander on the mound, the Rays have struggled against them. Wander will be big. Obviously, I mean, all the right-handers, Nelson Cruz, who the Rays did not have at their disposal the last time around. So I think the emergence of those two, Cruz and Franco, could be the difference maker. Kevin Kiermaier is day-to-day with a knee issue, right knee soreness, they're calling it. So if Randy gets called up, maybe you go all righties in the outfield with maybe Randy in left, Margot in center, and am I missing somebody? I guess not, because they'd have to probably go Meadows out of one of those. I don't know why I thought they had 3 right-handed outfielders. Jordan Luplow, who crushes lefties, but I imagine he would be sent down in favor of a Rosarena. That would be hard to make it work. But for one day, if they wanted and go short on pitchers, like I said, for one day they could do it. So maybe they go Luplow in left, Margot in center, and maybe a Rosarena in right if he is able to come back. And then you would go as right-handed heavy as possible. Probably Wendell at third, Wander at short, Lau at second, and Yandy Diaz at first. They could put Yandy at third and G-Man at first if they wanted to get him in the lineup. And then it looks like, I'd imagine it'll be Frankie Mejia behind the plate. Just briefly, the next 2 games, and we'll talk about them, but the corresponding days, obviously. But it'll be Yarbrough and Eovaldi on Wednesday. Yarbrough, for what it's worth, and like I said, we'll save some of this for tomorrow. Over 12 innings of work against the Red Sox this year, which is 3 starts, a 12 ERA with an 0-1 record, and 4 home runs allowed. Just has not been very good. A 340 on opponent's batting average. So not good by any means. He's been terrible against the Red Sox. I mean, last time out on that Saturday night, the July 31st, 5 runs and 4 hits over 5 innings. That was the best start he's had against the Red Sox by far, which is still not good at all. And then Eovaldi has seen the Rays a couple of times, gave up 6 runs on that Saturday night against Yarbrough, so they'll be dueling against each other once again. And then Fleming has seen the Red Sox once. That was that Friday night, July 30th. 3 runs on 8 hits over 5 innings. Got out of a bases-loaded jam that really turned that game in the Rays' favor. So if that doesn't go their way, could be looking at a worse start. So don't feel great about that. And then Nick Pivetta has been pretty good against the Rays this year. He had 3 runs allowed over 4 2/3 on Sunday Night Baseball, but had a 6 2/3 no-hit bid before he got pulled out of the game with a 100-pitch count, and then also had a 5-inning shutout on April 5th. So you would say, in as far as starting pitching, probably be in the Red Sox favor, but hopefully bullpen would be in the Rays' favor. Even, as I said, Matt Barnes, the closer, has not been very good. Hopefully the lineup for Boston will remain icy, but a hot summer night in Beantown, that lineup can get cooking pretty quick. So the Rays are going to need their pitching to be pretty good. And I guess their offense, they may need to outduel the Red Sox in a shootout in maybe 1 or 2 of those games. So the hope is for me now that I'll be back on a regular schedule. We'll be back tomorrow after the game, 10:30, 11, right after the game, post-game show. If you want to catch that, and I know you do, and make sure you're following us at WHBC Official on Twitter. You can also follow the show page where you're listening to this right now on Spreaker.com. Thanks to everyone for checking out the program. I know not too many people enthused on the program going into 1 in the morning on an off day, but just wanted to get some stuff out there. Want to stay up to date and share my thoughts with the world. That's the point of doing this, right? So thanks again for everyone for listening, and we hope you tune in tomorrow night Until then, we'll see you then.
Sports Radio 101.9 FM and Sports Radio 66. The Fan.
HBC